Have you ever had an experience where you felt ridiculed or felt prejudged based on the color of your skin or your cultural traditions or even your spiritual beliefs? The story that I want to share today is one of ancestral healing with a lot to unpack. So you're definitely going to want to pay attention to the very end. Each one of our therapists at Ho'omana are trained in what we call Ho'oponopono, which is the Hawaiian practice of being in alignment with yourself, with others, and with the divine. In the Hawaiian philosophy of care, we don't believe that there are any coincidences. Nothing happens by chance. Everything is orchestrated. We also believe that everything is connected. So if you're experiencing something in the physical body, it's a very good chance that there's something deeper going on, either emotionally or spiritually. In this video, I want to share a story that happened right here at Ho'omana that illustrates how even ancestral stories can weave their way into our experiences today, especially those that have been tucked away in the corners for a very long time. Those stories that we don't talk about, those stories of ancestral trauma that we carry, those stories that are ready to be healed will find their way to the surface, and they'll find their way in very unexpected ways. I'm Kumujini Ivaleni Nalawai, and I'm here at Ho'omana Spa. I'm on the island of Maui, and I love to gather here with healers, body workers, anyone who loves Hawaiian teachings of Lomi Lomi, of Ho'oponopono, and of course, Aloha Spirit. We gather right here to wrap the arms of Aloha around the globe. So wherever it is that you are tuning in from, we'd love to know in the comments below, just so we can see how far these arms of aloha are spreading. All right, back to that story. It all started in the massage room. An Indigenous woman had booked to come in for an experience in Lomi Lomi. For us, Lomi Lomi and Ho'oponopono fit perfectly together. We love to share one of our Hawaiian parables. It's called the Bowl of Light, as a way of helping people to understand their role in remaining in alignment. In this parable, told by a Molokai family, it talks about how each child at birth is born with a bowl of perfect light. If he tends his light, the light will grow in strength and he can swim with the sharks, fly with the birds, know and understand all things. As he goes along his path, if he becomes angry, greedy, jealous, resentful, each of these emotions is like a stone that he places into his bowl of light. Because the light and the stone can't hold the same space, when he places this stone into his bowl, some of the light goes out. He continues on this path, placing stones into his bowl of light. He will become like a stone. And a stone cannot grow, and a stone has a hard time moving. He'll feel stuck. But if at any time he tires of being a stone, all he needs to do is turn his bowl upside down, the stones will fall away, and the light can shine once more. I love this teaching. And one of the lessons here has to do with what we carry, the traumas we carry, the burdens that weigh us down. These burdens that keep us from showing up in our highest and brightest way, aligned with our spiritual knowing, aligned with our spiritual path. Some of the toughest of these stones are those ancestral traumas because we don't feel like they had anything to do with us. We weren't there then. We weren't involved in some of those things that happened a long time ago. That's something that happened so long ago, sometimes even before we were born. Why should we have to atone for them? It's something that our ancestors did. Or maybe it's something that my ancestors had to endure that I'm experiencing now. These are some of the questions that we ask ourselves when we bump up against these situations that have to do with ancestral trauma. The truth is, if we looked back into each of our ancestral timelines, what we would see is a story of humanity. And unfortunately, the story of humanity is that there has always been a time in our history when someone thought that you were weak. Someone wanted something that you had, that someone decided that they were better than you, stronger than you, and more powerful than you. And out of greed and malice, took what you had, sometimes by force. And the greatest way to create that type of a power differential is by instilling fear, by separating people from the things that they hold most dear in their hearts, like their traditions, separating them from family, disconnecting them spiritually, and definitely separating them from their land. If we look back in our histories, we'll see that this has happened everywhere across the globe for generations of time, over and over again. And it still continues to happen even today. People are walking around with these painful his stories deep in their bones. The therapist who was sharing Lomi Lomi was Caucasian. At the end of their time together, the Indigenous woman began to have extreme low back pain. And interestingly enough, so did her therapist. The wisdom of the bones, which is the metaphysical, spiritual source of pain that might be underlying when someone presents with discomfort in the area of the low back, has to do with ancestral roots and support. This area is our solid foundation and always comes back to genealogy. We believe that each level of the vertebra represents one generation of ancestral support that we stand upright upon, that we're supported by. The therapist, after finding out that the client was experiencing discomfort, offered to work on her to alleviate the symptoms. While the client was on the table, she said, "I know what my stone is. It's you, white people. You are my stone." The therapist was mortified. She was practicing Lomi Lomi. We believe this is loving touch. In Lomi Lomi, our intention is to work on each person as though they are our family, because Lomi was always family work. We believe that we are all one family, that we are all expressions of the children of the rainbow. With all of our beautiful, various colors, backgrounds, traditions here on the planet, we're here to stand together in aloha. Had the therapist done anything to harm the client? No. This was not a conversation about physical harm. Certainly not. This was an old, old story. It was an energetic story. The woman on the table had literally gotten the indigenous beat out of her while being raised in religious schools. She was just now in her midlife beginning to embrace her origins, her traditions, and her indigenous ways. And this experience was there to show her that there was still something left over in her bowl. She needed to take a look at it so that she could heal it. The therapist also had a deep learning here. If there was anything left over from being white practitioner of Lomi Lomi, this was her opportunity to look inside her bowl and release any self-doubt, any guilt or shame, any stones around the DNA cards that she was dealt by her ancestors. This experience further solidified for this practitioner that this work chose her to be in this exact moment, in this beautiful collision, so that she could heal her family line and stand even more firmly in lokahi, which in our Hawaiian language means unity. Consider that every person that comes to lie on your table has been on one side or another of this same story, or in my case, both. My ancestral lineage is Hawaiian on my father's side, Hawaiian, those that were overtaken. Also, I'm the European, Scotch, Irish, Dutch, German, English colonizer on my mother's side. I'm the colonizer and I'm the one colonized. I can't decide that I just want to be one or the other. The true healing comes when I reconcile these parts of myself. That's when healing can happen. That's when we can rewrite that history of our timeline. And that's when I get to step more fully into my healing gifts in an even more powerful way. It took at least 40 hours for this client to search deep inside the pain that she was suffering, to realize that this experience wasn't something that happened to her, but it was actually something that happened for her. In that time of suffering, she cried out to her ancestors to show her the lesson, and they spoke to her very clearly. They said, "Your therapist is here to help. She's here to make all that's happened right." And in Hawaiian language, we call that pono. Her ancestors said that it was time for her to let go of her anger, that it was time for her to open her heart so that she could fully step into the healing work that she was being called to do. The student continued on, determined to learn Lomi Lomi, and continues on this path today. Both the therapist and the student have had the opportunity to release stones. We never really know when a magical, beautiful collision like this one is going to happen. In short, we are all children of the rainbow. We all have a choice to stay in separation or to walk the rainbow bridge towards one another in peace, in healing, and in aloha. What's in your bowl of light? What can you do to walk closer in alignment and unity in your community? I want to just say mahalo for being here. I look forward to hearing all of the ways you're practicing mokahi, unity, and aloha and ho'oponopono in your community. Please leave your stories here with me. Write them in the comments below. If this was helpful, write helpful in the comments below. Ask me your questions. I read each and every communication. Your questions determine what gets shared right here. If you want to learn more teachings just like this one, I encourage you to join our April Lomi retreat, where we'll dive deep into wisdom of the bones for all of the different areas of the body in our advanced Lomi Lomi training. You'll learn how to address injury with advanced techniques, and we'll be sharing even more about our Ho'oponopono practices. So if that sounds like something that you would love to do, write Lomi in the comments below, and we'll get you everything you need to know to join us for a live retreat right here on Maui. All right, everyone. Until then, see you next time. A hui hou.